Hi, I'm Alma Zapata from the University of Murcia, and this is my Attention to Diversity final exam video. Prehistory, also known as psychiatric obscurantism. In this period, there were no scientific explanations for the physical or mental disabilities, due to the lack of knowledge in sciences such as anatomy or psychology, and therefore demonology was used. Middle Ages. They continue with the same approaches to deficiency and seeing these people as demoniac. Because of that, witchcraft practices, exorcisms, and bonfire were 16th common. 16th century, also known as psychiatric naturalism. Demonological models were abandoned and the nature was then the base to explain human behavior disorders. 18th century, first educational experiences. Ponce de León influenced others such as Lepe, Valentin Haüy, and Louis Braille. Later, the doctors began to be the drivers of assistant and human treatment to special education. The birth of special education. Binet comes up with his intelligence test in 1905. Special education was born as a segregated education system, and people with these conditions didn't have the same rights as others. Normalization and integration. The same rights were claimed for all people, demanding the end of segregation. In 1975, it was shown the importance of education for people with deficiencies.
Hi Auntie, can you help me with the homework? Do you know how the educational laws have affected attention to diversity?
Yes, of course, I am going to help you. Well, in my opinion, the path toward normalization and integration of people with disabilities began in Spain in 1970 with the end of segregation and the General Law on Education, which proposed for the first time the creation of special education classrooms in ordinary schools. However, we can affirm that inclusive education did not arrive until 1985, with the enactment of the Royal Decree of the Regulation of Special Education, which openly raises the need and benefits of schooling those people with mental and sensorial deficiencies in ordinary centers through specific individual support. They can only be in other types of schools when the characteristics of the students do not make their insertion into the conventional educational system possible. From this point onwards, throughout a great legislative journey, there is no doubt that education in Spain has advanced toward inclusive education, especially in the last 2 decades, in my view. An aim has been to integrate into the same system students with any kind of special educational need, not only due to learning difficulties, but also for economic or cultural reasons, for example, the immigrant population. I believe that Spanish education has made numerous achievements, such as the schooling of all students in the same system, the development of plans for attention to diversity, the improvement of teachers' formation in the area of inclusion, the increase of resources to attend the special needs, among other things. Finally, I believe that the need to take all the necessary measures is increasingly and better in mind, so that there is full inclusion and attention to the diversity of students. Diversity is an inherent characteristic of the human being, as well as a social and educational reality, and should be considered as an enriching element and not as an inequality. Well, honey, I have to go. I hope I've helped you. See you later, okay?
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Auntie. See you soon.
For a good educational response to the intellectual functional diversity of this student, the school must take into account that she must be attended individually and in groups both inside and outside the classroom by teachers of hearing, language, and therapeutic pedagogy. She will receive assistance from the center's technical educational assistant if necessary. We have to apply significant curricular adaptations in the curricula of the different area based on her specific needs.
Then, as a teacher, I have to consider the following factors of her development based on personality, attention, perception and motor skills, cognitive aspects, intelligence, language, memory, conduct, and sociability.
In a situation like the one we are currently experiencing, it will be important to take the specific support measures set out in the Royal Decree. As ordinary support measures may not be enough due to the difficult educational conditions we are facing, specific support measures will bring us closer to enable pupils with specific educational support needs to achieve maximum development of basic skills and state objectives. The most important specific support measures for the current situation are the following: making adaptations that deviate significantly from the objectives, contents, and assessment criteria of the curriculum in order to meet the needs of the students with special educational needs arising from serious behavioral or developmental disabilities or disorders. The guidance services shall advise and guide educational establishments in the development of specific support measures, the adoption of specific methodological strategies for teaching and learning, and the creation of groups for deepening and enriching specific content in different areas of the subjects. Specific programs for students who value the school framework negatively and present serious difficulties in adapting to the environment due to personal or school history conditions that make their incorporation and promotion at this stage very difficult. Specific programs for learning Spanish as a foreign language. These measures will be carried out online, so it will be also very important that students have a good study environment at home and also the collaborations of their family. I believe I deserve a 9 because I have made a great job, so I'm very proud of it. I have learned a lot about the history of attention to diversity and the important people who developed the normalization and integration to get to where we are now, which I think is a very good place for the inclusion concept. Yes, of course, I'm totally mindful about attention to diversity and I really liked it. I think that the most important idea I have learned is inclusive education and its importance.